Hi, everybody. My name's Stephen Headrick. Some of my friends call me the Smallmouth Guru. And I'm here tonight filling in with Hugh while he's away, out on vacation. And I have some special guests with me tonight. One of my good friends, Bobby Gentry from Dale Hollow Lake, guides up there. And a good friend of mine, Craig, he's over here. He's from Kentucky Lake, guides, and does a lot of good fishing. And let's talk a little bit about some of the different things that we want to talk about tonight. We've been talking about some of the fish kill they talked about on Dale Hollow. You want to talk to us a little bit about that, Bobby?
Yeah, we're going to do that. First of all, I want to say congratulations, Hugh, on getting away for a little time and having confidence in us doing this show for him.
Trusting soul.
Yeah, he's very trusting. We've got several things I'd like to get out to the public about the fish kill. Is that we've had some fish die this past summer, and I have tons of phone calls wanting to know, is the fish all right in Dale Hollow? Yes, they are. I mean, I'd like to get your take on it, but I mean, what we've caught's been healthy. The numbers have been down some, but I don't think it's nothing that's going to devastate that lake. We've got too big a lake and too good a healthy smallmouth being caught right now for it to be a major issue. Do you agree? Or
I agree totally on that, Bobby. I know there's a fish kill, but Mother Nature takes care of itself. She has a way of taking care of herself, and when you have a kill like that, they usually come back a lot stronger and a lot better. And I don't think it was as major a kill as everybody ever made it out to be.
I don't think it's an issue. The same thing happened with their largemouth bass on Dale. And you ask the guys that fish on Dale, it's 10 times better now it's ever been. The largemouth fishing come back, population's good, size is good. So I think we're going to do okay. I'm looking forward to this spring. We've got a spring season coming up.
Oh, yes, we do. And
you guys don't have many big tournaments, do you?
Not big tournaments, no, Craig.
I mean, we've got, at my house, there's a big tournament at every marina. They kill as many fish a month in tournaments as you guys found. I mean, it's not like they killed 1 million fish.
That's a good point. Yeah. That's a good point.
It wasn't that big a deal.
Yeah, and I think we're okay. I think we're doing really good on the smallmouth population, and this spring will tell a lot what kind of spawn we have, and get the conditions right. Fish are going to be back, catch good numbers of fish this spring.
I think you've seen it with the largemouth. The largemouth, you didn't see them there for a while, and now they've made a huge comeback on Dale Hollow Lake. I mean, huge comeback. And what Craig was talking about too, I mean, over there on Kentucky Lake, I mean,
every tournament we have, we just had a tournament last weekend, and every tournament you're going to have at least 6 stringers over 23 pounds. You're going to have 20 pounds to be in the top 10, and I know that a lot of the fish that they turn loose die at them tournaments. Just because they swim off don't mean they leave, but we've got a fabulous fishery. It's just unreal. So how can you just judge it on what you found floating? You can't check what's deep. They can't shock them.
And it wasn't lake wide. I think we had a section of the lake, and the ones they checked was they said deprived of oxygen, which I can understand in that section of the lake, the way the wind direction consistently blowed. When I was on the lake, I checked the water temperature consistently above normal in that section of the lake, and that's where we found the floating fish or the fish that died. So
I was just out there this last week on Friday with Jay Ellis, and what we seen was all the smallmouth were just healthy, just busted with eggs. Just full and healthy. I didn't see any malnutrition smallmouth bass.
But the numbers are down some. It's no use in trying to put extra butter on your bread. The numbers were down this year, but that was a lot because of the fishing conditions we had this past year. And the history of that lake, I've been on it for over 30 years, and the lakes go through a high peak point, then they go through some times. And I think we were in them times, and the people that commented on it, most of them folks went through the good days and never had experience the slow points in the lake. You're going to have them trends, and the young guys that experienced that last year, first-time fishermen, they got pretty excited, thought something's going on here, but that's common.
Well, let's be honest. Dale Hollow has never been known for its numbers of fish. It's always known for its size. It has quality. 5 of the top 7 smallmouth ever caught in the world. That's pretty stout,
Well, I don't know a lot about your lake, but at my house, at Kentucky Lake, the fish cycle. It's like you'll have 3 or 4 great years of largemouth, and then they'll kind of die off and the smallmouth pick up. Then you'll have 2 or 3 years of bad small or good smallmouth, and then they'll die off and the largemouth pick up. It's like it's never good all the time. They kind of go through a 6 or 7 year cycle, maybe.
Yeah.
I've seen do that.
Yes, I've seen that a lot.
That's what
Crappie do that a lot too.
Yeah, that's what we're having. That little lull in the seasons, I think.
Yeah.
That don't mean it's bad, boys.
No. I think that was one of the misconceptions that people got this year on the lake. I think that this year you're going to see a lot of good fishing this year. I'm expecting some big fish to be caught, not just in Dale Hollow. I think, look at Percy Priest, what they just done here a while back. I mean, I think they was like 27 to 30 pounds weighed in the tournament in one day or something like that. It was crazy numbers. And yeah, they had 2 fish that was over 7 pounds. And Center Hill has been on fire this year. I mean, if you didn't have 20 pounds, you didn't even come to win. So I think fishing is going to be awesome this year in a lot of the lakes.
Like the snowman, Chris Snow. We talked about that at the Nashville show we had down here at the fairgrounds. I anticipate a giant spotted bass come out of Center Hill this year.
Oh, no doubt.
They're raising the water level back up. They're getting that lake back up. They're doing the same thing to Lake Cumberland up in Kentucky. They're raising that lake up. The completion on the dam's taking place right now. A friend of mine actually poured the last load of concrete. I noticed that other day. So that they're going to bring that lake back up. So you're going to see in lakes that's filling up, that's been down for a long period of time, really start picking up. So I anticipate statewide, in general, our lakes are going to be good this year. Dale Hollow, all these other lakes, Priest, Old Hickory's a great lake right now. So I think we're in for a good fishing season.
I do too.
Have you noticed that every year the fish people's just learning it? They think they're biting earlier because you're getting more winter fishermen because of the better clothes, the better hand warmers. People's just starting to fish more early.
Absolutely.
Have you noticed that at your house?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And besides not just fishing all winter, I've seen a big change with open water fishing, with the graphs that they've got now, catching these open water fish, and the Alabama rig that brought on a lot of open water fishing. And, of course, we were doing that a lot with float and fly years ago.
Now, since you said Alabama rig, I got to back Hugh up here. He done a show on this. In Tennessee, how many hooks are we allowed? We're allowed 3. Yeah, so we want to reinforce that and don't get everybody thinking.
You can have 5 wires starting this year, but you only allowed 3 with hooks on it, okay? And the other 2 you can have blades on it in the state of Tennessee.
See, that's where they get you at my house. From Jones Creek to the dam on the east side of the lake, you can throw 5. As soon as you pass Jones, you're in Tennessee. But you can cross the lake and go to Blood River and fish 5 almost down to the islands because the line runs at an angle. Mm-hmm. So you got to be real careful on Kentucky Lake where you're throwing 3 and 5.
Well, everybody, stay tuned. We'll be right back with you at Southern Wood and Water.
This segment is being brought to you by Stan Sloan Zora Bait Company, where setting the hook is an everyday thing.
All right, glad to have you all back here at Southern Woods and Waters. We have 2 photos here, and they are pictures of the week that are brought by Flared Deer Processing. This one here is a muskie that was caught out of Dale Hollow Lake. It was caught. What was so nice about this thing, it was caught on a 6-pound test line, okay, with an ultralight rod. Can you imagine catching a muskie like that right there?
That'd be a good day.
That'd be fun.
It had a good drag.
I'd say he had some time catching that. It was Jeff Davis is who it was, caught that fish. And here we have some gentlemen with a bunch of rabbits. It's see on the back here it says Chase Hatchett, Dennis Holder, Steve Slover, and Pete Hatchett. I'm sure one of them's holding the camera because there's 4 names. There's only 3 in the picture. So, so one of them's holding the picture. And that's the pictures we've got. And now we'll get back to what we were talking about.
What I'd really love to talk about here, we got a good friend here, Craig. Craig's one of the finest crappie fishing guys that I know to talk to and catch crappie on Kentucky Lake. He's got a jig here that I think everybody out there watching the show needs to take a look at. If you're a crappie guy, they need to know about this, don't they, Steve?
They definitely need to know about this. This is something I'm going to let Craig tell you about it. His mother started tying these, and they've been a great bait.
Well, these jigs actually come around because my dad and myself was guides, and we couldn't get them, so Mom tied them for us. And then you guide somebody, and they'd say, well, I want some. And then, I want some. Well, then it snowballed to where Mom was tying jigs 7 days a week, 10 hours a day, and couldn't keep up. And I really didn't want it to get out because nobody at Kentucky Lake fished flies or hair, whatever we call them. And I tried to keep it a secret as long as I could, but it just snowballed and just got out of control. And I mean, my cousin Ryan and David Prater just won a crappie tournament up in Ohio on East Fork Lake on that pink-headed blue one, and he won another one last fall on Caesars Creek on it. And he's not too proud of me for coming out with him, but I mean, I couldn't keep up with demand. It's awesome, man.
I've definitely seen some of the pictures, and I'm really was impressed with some of the pictures. And this thing is really snowballed, and we started making them at Punisher Lures for Craig. And one thing I will say is I think your nephew just the other day won a huge tournament in Ohio on these things, crappie tournament.
Yeah, it was the Boar's Head crappie tournament at East Fork Lake, and I can't remember the exact weight, which Ohio does not have crappies like we have down here. But they was allowed to weigh 7 fish, and he had right at 7 pound. And I mean, that's a pretty good catch up there, and he caught every one of them on that pink-headed blue hair jig right there. So, they're starting to be in demand up there. And this yellow one right here, a matter of fact, the boy at Punisher Joe sent me that and said, have you ever throwed a yellow one? And I said, man, that don't even sound good. He said, oh, you got to try it. It's the best thing. And he mailed me 10 of them. And I caught 40 crappies 2 days in a row on that yellow one. And it's been the big sleeper color. But I got to tell people, you got to get it out there. So I'm going to tell about it. But
well, I got a friend that we throw. Yellow jigs have been a real secret for years. I mean, we were throwing yellow jigs on Dale Hollow for smallmouth years and years ago. Billy Westmoreland,
right.
One of the greatest smallmouth fishermen of all times, was throwing a yellow horsefly jig years ago.
That's
right. And I know David, a friend of mine, who throws it pretty religiously on Dale Hollow Lake all winter long. That's all he throws is that yellow jig.
One of the main reasons I'm guiding on Dale Hollow Lake today is because of what Billy done. Mm-hmm. I was at Horse Creek, and he was in the boat beside of me, and I watched his shows religiously. I thought, his greatest thing ever was to be able to fish for a living. Well, he throwed in my boat 2 or 3 silver buddies because he asked me, "Are you doing any good?" I said, "No, not really." He throwed me, and got that housefly was one of the baits he throwed in there. He said, "Fish it slow and fish it deep." I played around with it and didn't really do all that well because I didn't really grasp what he was wanting me. But years later, I figured out, what to do. And that really stuck with me from being a young guy in 18, 19 years old. I've got a little age since then, you can tell by the gray. But them kind of things stick with you. And, good things that are good,
stick around.
They stick around. They
right.
continue throughout the years. They might change a little bit with different companies, different concepts of bait design, but they all go back to a lot of the same basic colors. Don't make fishing hard.
Look at the Zara Spook.
Spook.
It's still one of the best topwater baits made. And been around how long?
A long time. Now, I got a certain question I have to ask you, Greg. I got to ask you this question. Why do you choose to throw a 3/32 that weight? Why do you in that size hook? Because when we started making these at Punisher, I know that was very. You said it's got to be this size hook and this size head. Now, why was that?
Well, 90% of the time I'm fishing deeper than 8 foot, and I might fish that jig 8 to 26. And Kentucky Lake will make you a great wind fisherman because the wind is going to blow every day. And we started out with a 16th, and you just couldn't do nothing with it. Wind, you catch it and just blow it away. So then we went to an 8th. Well, the problem with the 8th it fell so fast and got the bottom so quick, the fish wouldn't grab it. So we come up upon the 332nd, and we just stuck with it. I mean, we've been years. We finally figured out you need 4-pound line. You know, we went through different rods, different gear ratios, and we've got it kind of down to a science like you did floating fly. I mean, I can take that little jig right there and catch crappies 22, 23 foot deep on a hard cast, you know, and you just, if you can't feel it, you can't catch them. So that's how we settled on it. And you know, I caught fish on it Sunday under a bobber, fishing it floating fly style. So.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this real quickly. Now, do you pick your colors to the water clarity or water temperature? Is those the things that come into play there?
The only one that really dominates when the water gets down about 45, this purple one, and I don't know what in the lake that's purple, but when that water gets 45, 42, they'll eat that purple one up. But then other than that, I base it on color. I use the blues and clear water, chartreuse and yellow and dingy water.
The point he just made about the purple, what do we do when we're summer nighttime jig fishing when the fish get below that thermocline in that deep water? Don't we have a purple?
Purple.
We use purple. Now, I mean, I couldn't have made that up.
I know, but why? What's purple?
What does purple look like to a fish in that deep of water? You know, they're.
Well, you know, I think through a fish's eyes and our eyes is two separate things. It's just like that yellow jig. I think when the water, when it gets down so deep, the sun can't penetrate that water, and you have some different colored water, I think that looks totally different to them as we see it above the water. And I think that's one of the things you're getting at, Bobby, and what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's a lot to what the fish see that to be. We've got speed, depth, and presentation. Yeah. Then you've got your color, which is a factor also with your water clarity, light penetration. In a jig, you're not really making a sound. You're not generating a lot of sound unless you. It's basically got to be a silhouette.
Right.
That's right.
I agree with that.
It's got to be a silhouette, and so some of these colors put out a different silhouette, I'm sure, and different water clarity.
Well, you know what got me is I kind of dropped the ball a little bit. I don't know about at your house, but every winter our shad get yellowtails, bright yellowtails. We call them yellowtails. And, you know, I don't know if they think that's a yellowtail, but if you catch a shad out of the lake right now, Kentucky Lake, its tail is as yellow as that jig, just the back two fins. They turn bright yellow. So, I mean, duh. You know, I just totally missed it, never thought of it. I'm not going to take credit for it. I'm going to give Joe credit where it's deserved, you know.
Well, that's a good thing.
You know,
yeah, it's a good thing.
we learn every day. I mean, just because I got a guide title and Craig's a guide,
that's right.
That don't mean we're any better than any other fisherman out there. It's just that we're there a lot more days, and we get to play around with ideas. My clients that have fished with me, that's probably watching this show, I don't fish very much with them. I do once till I figure out what our pattern's going to be. But if they're catching fish, I'm doing something totally off the wall. I'll be playing around with a different color or something different than they are.
Well, let me ask you this: how many times have you? I've had this happen so many times. You know, I pick these guys up and I'll say, "Boys, they're biting blue," and then one guy will go, "Well, I like that pink one." And I'm gonna say, "Man, it's sunny and clear, dead still, water's gin clear. They ain't gonna bite that pink one." He's got 12 later and you ain't had a bite, you know, and you're like, well,
it's called fish.
I think I'll put a pink one on, you know.
Yeah. And a good tip for hiring a guide, I hope people hire me and hire Craig and work with us, but it's when you hire a guide, find a guide that you can have a conversation with, you know. Find somebody you can enjoy your day with. We have safety as our first priority. Number 2, we have a good time. Number 3 is going to catch fish. You got to do the first 2 to get the third one, and that's kind of what we use as guides. That's why we get repeat business, because we want people to enjoy their day of fishing. That's so important, and learn something from what you're doing by your experiences. That's the whole key.
Experience is the best teacher, and you guys do that by being guides, and by me being on the water a lot is a great experience. And when you said something about life jackets, I do want to share this while I'm here on the show. Always, when you're on the water, wear a life jacket, you know, and be safe, because that's the most important thing of all. And secondly, I want to share with you is I have a little black spot here on the side of my face. Put you some sunscreen on your face. It's a skin cancer. It's from being out on the sun. So being out in the sun too much. So please put the sunscreen in out there. And I didn't mean to.
No,
that's a good point.
That's
Very
a good point.
And please do that.
We carry our sunscreen in the boat. I
Do
carry
too.
a couple, 3 different types of sunscreen in the boat. Most of my clients that hire me, they have their sunscreen. Wear your life jacket, carry sunscreen with you, and just be safe with being outdoors.
There's no fish worth dying for. I mean, I don't care what it is. It's not worth losing your life over. You know, I see them guys at Kentucky Lake. They have them tournaments, giving away boats, and they'll go out there and we'll have 5 and 6 foot waves. And these guys tear trolling motors off and rip seats out of their boat to try to catch a fish. You know, it's not worth dying for.
So one of the things I want to say to this is the product of the week is these crappie jigs that Craig's brought in here. But I also want to share this with you. Punisher Lures also has a new spinnerbait that Jay Ellis has his face on, and it's a great spinnerbait. So I just want to share that with you. But product of the week is we're definitely talking about these crappie jigs. If you're interested in them, you can go on PunisherLures.com. You can talk to Craig. He's on the internet. Bobby's on the internet. We'd be glad to share any information we can with you. And bottom line is, hope you join us here in a few minutes for the rest of Southern Woods and Water.